Right. One of the big challenges that every local authority here faces is the area of housing. Provision of housing, how do you allocate housing, repairs to housing, everything that goes on with housing. And for a long time, it was probably the source of most discontent amongst the primary users of local authorities, the tenants who would have that housing. So how do you deal with it? How can you get better at it? I'm delighted to welcome to the stage from Galway County Council. I think there's two of you. Is there two of you? There is. Ger Scully and Morgan Matthews, ladies and gentlemen. Up you come.
Sorry, lads. 2 seconds. Oh, yeah. You're good to go.
Afternoon. Good afternoon, folks. I was checking to see whether it was morning or afternoon. So our presentation today is about the interactive social housing supply and demand dashboards. In a nutshell, we display our live data housing supply and demand on a daily basis. Historically, that same information was produced on a yearly basis or quarterly or on demand in the case of press, media queries or FOIs. So why was there a need to look at this whole area of interactive dashboards? The data on housing demand and supply was fragmented across paper files, spreadsheets and iHouse systems. Reporting was reactive, time-consuming and prone to errors. Councillors, AHBs and other stakeholders lacked timely access to reliable data. There was no centralised real-time view of housing applicant numbers or available stock. So the goal was to create a single source of truth with live interactive dashboards to support decision-making, transparency and strategic planning. How do we do it? So data analysis, and our previous speaker mentioned data cleansing and data analysis. It was absolutely vital from our point of view. So we spent 2 years cleaning our data on applicants and property. We created properties and tenancies for all non-local authority properties. I was very conscious when I was embarking on this process that if we were going to provide live data to the general public, I didn't just want it to be local authority housing. I wanted to include AHBs, RAS, leasing, MTR, and hopefully HAP will be our next step. So to do this, we cleansed, we produced 2 data Power BI dashboards, internally first for testing, and we tested it over a 3-month period. Firstly, it was our demand dashboard, and we filtered by area of choice, bedroom need, time on the list, basis of need, age and HAP status. And the second dashboard was our supply dashboard, filtered by municipal district, property status, letting status and bedroom count. It was absolutely vital that we concentrated on governance, audit trails to ensure that we had data integrity and security. What were the benefits? So real-time insights, it's always current data for internal teams and external stakeholders. And from the internal teams point of view, we've a lot of Power BIs for reporting. These 2 in particular, they're not only an information tool, but they drive workflows for some of the staff. For middle management, they can monitor what work is being done. And for senior managers, they're great tools to present reports, live reports to senior management. From a transparency point of view, they're clearly visible. Clear visibility into waiting lists and housing delivery. So when a query comes up in relation to how many are on our waiting list, we don't have to go through a huge amount of spreadsheets. It's live, it's there, and it's updated daily. It's efficient. It eliminated manual reporting and reduced routine queries. Scenario planning, it enables strategic analysis for capital planning and policy changes and this was particularly important for developers, HSE and AHB. Prior to this, I used to get calls probably once every 3 weeks from developers asking for demand in a local area to establish whether they would try and source land to build, so that it would be built turnkeys or in the case of Part 5s, what level of demand and what the bed sizes were. Stakeholder engagement, councillors, AHBs, developers, press and the department can self-serve data, and the important term is self-serve, so they can choose what information they extract from our database, our dashboards, and improving responsiveness. What were the costs? Very little, to be honest. Initial investment in training, data cleansing and dashboard design. I think from an IT point of view, it was IT's time, but also Microsoft licensing, change management. The time and effort it took for me to convince the organisation to change from legacy systems to digital workflows, and most importantly, convincing Director of Services and Chief Executive and councillors to publicly display our data. We have some of our data in about 5 years, and at a time our vacancy rate was about 5.2% when we started off. So a vacancy rate of 5.2 was bad enough. So what we were doing was airing our dirty linen in public, and we didn't mind doing it. There wasn't any backfire from it at all. Now we can comfortably say our vacancy rate is 2%, so it has improved hugely. But over the 5-year period, we started off with demand and we moved to supply then about 2.5 years ago. I can safely say I did not receive any negative response from us publicly displaying our data. What were the difficulties we encountered? Again, I've mentioned it earlier, data quality. The legacy data required significant validation and cleansing. The 2 Power BIs that we produced and tested for a 3-month period, really why we did that was to show up what was wrong, and that assisted us in getting what was wrong right. User adoption. Some staff were hesitant to move away from familiar spreadsheets, and that change management took a bit of convincing. Technical setup, ensuring the secure access, performance tuning and dashboard responsiveness, and I'll leave that to my colleague Morgan to deal with. Cross-department coordination, aligning data definitions and workflow across teams within housing and within the organisation in general. What were the savings? The development of the interactive housing dashboards strongly align with the National Digital Strategy, the Digital Public Service, Trust in Digital and Digital Skills. Time and cost savings, there was a significant reduction in manual reporting, data requests and spreadsheet maintenance. Staff time is now focused on service delivery and strategic planning. Improved decision making, real-time data enables fast evidence-based decisions on allocation, housing delivery and land acquisition. And that's vital from the developer's point of view. Governance and compliance, standardised reporting. Our 2 dashboards are based on iReport 19 and iReport 110. 19 is basically the SSHA, and iReport 110 is basically part of the, I think it's the first 3 questions on our NOAC returns and the last 2. Stakeholder confidence. Councillors, AHB, HSE, NGOs, media and the department have direct access to reliable, up-to-date data, reducing routine queries and improving responsiveness. And the public engagement, anonymised dashboards providing clarity on waiting lists, delivery times and reducing misinformation. And I have spoken to some councillors, and when they talk to their clients, they have actually pulled up our website to show that there are very little availability in vacant stock, and they've used that. with their clients in their offices. So I know they're using that for that benefit as well. Why was there a need to innovate? This transformation was not just a technical upgrade, it was a strategic response to increasing service demands, rising expectation for transparency and responsiveness, and the limitations of our legacy systems. I'll just go on to our dashboard now. Well, Morgan will go into it.
Where are we now? Is that supply?
Yeah. So this is our supply dashboard. So basically it's interactive. You can't break it. Reset each time will help you to go back to the start. If I look at vacant stock, sorry. So if I look at vacant stock, big shock, we've 87 units that are vacant. But if I drill down into that even further, and I take local authority vacant stock, so that's not too bad, we have 9. So each time I select a filter, all of the tables change, and they show me exactly what I'm trying to look for. So top table is vacant, new properties awaiting keys, occupied stock, under construction, under offer, vacant, and in total. So obviously they say what the new properties awaiting keys and under construction are anything that are coming at us in the next 6 to 9 months. Awaiting keys are 6 months, under construction are 9 months. Occupied is obviously occupied. Under offer is any vacant stock that we have sent out an offer on, and vacant is stock that we are shortlisting or are vacant for a reason. The middle table is area of choice, or sorry, municipal district. So I can tell what stock are available, what stock are vacant in each area of choice, and it means I can crack the whip with my 5 HLOs to see which ones are underperforming or overperforming, and that is a conversation for another time. On the letting status, so again, we look at 64 units that are vacant, 9 of which are only available to let. So tomorrow morning, if I needed to, I have only 9 units out of 3,261 that I can possibly let. So look, you can see that's the filter. We have the exact same on our housing demand side. From a developer's point of view, they can see what our demand is. They can view it by area of choice, which is absolutely vital because they need to know where to buy the fields. We can select disability, any of those filters, and that'll tell us how many disability mental health. More importantly, on the disability physical side. So if I want to see disability and pensioner, so I have 73 units that are required for people over the age of 65, and I can see Ballinasloe South is a fairly big hit. I need 10 units in Ballinasloe South. So you can see how much level of detail we can drill into, and it's live, updated every day. And at that point, I'm going to hand over to Morgan to speak about the technical side. Sorry, just before I go, the reason for the success was the buy-in from the staff, the buy-in from the management, councillors, but also the close collaboration between ourselves and IT. I've done a good few projects now with Morgan, and I think the key to the success is the relationship between the business user and the IT developer. If you don't have that good relationship, these projects don't work.
Okay, hi, I'm Morgan Matthews. I work in the IT department, project leader. I've one slide which will have a few bits popping up onto it, but this is it. That's all you're going to really see. I'm just going to use them to give you my perspective on the project, and we'll see how we go. Like, my first starting point, IT had to listen to housing carefully and question everything. We had to understand their terminology, the reasons for the outliers in the data, why were there gaps, question all the assumptions, look at their processes, figure out why the data was quite dirty to begin with, and so we spent 2 years at that. So we used Power BI to help. Just temporary reports, just give you a report with all the gaps in this column or that column or whatever, and then we go and try and fill them in. But housing had to endure, particularly had to teach me like how to understand his terminology, and I had to also kind of put some manners on him and make him aware of what was really feasible. You know, he'd ask for the kitchen sink, you know. And I just go, yeah, but like, you know, it's all possible, but like what's feasible, you know? So once we kind of got that rapport going, I think, you know, I educated Ger how to ask me for things, and he educated me about what it is we were doing, you know? So it was done with lots and lots of conversations, to just listen, right? At the end of it, like I just kind of sat back and said, well, what do we really want, you know? And the answer is we wanted simplicity. Like, that's it. Like, that's why I have one slide. It's pretty simple. We take stuff from iHouse, we pass it into Power BI, we do a little bit of data manipulation, and we spit it out in a report. Sounds pretty simple, and it is. Like, the work for me actually wasn't massive. It was in the data cleansing, helping do the data cleansing. But like it is actually complex under the hood. So that's one of the iReports that we used. But I mean, I didn't create that. I just sniffed it in a sense. I used a tool to figure out what are we getting out of iHouse already. It says, okay, we'll build on that, right? And that was my starting point. So I ended up, the one in the middle there is the previous slide, this thing. It's all encapsulated in that one in the middle, and we added 3 little bits to it. Right, so that's pretty easy to maintain, you know. It doesn't actually need much maintenance, but if you want to expand it, it's pretty easy to expand. There was one little bit where we had sort of a bit of a problem with our data in the sense that we knew we had air codes and we trusted our air codes. We also had municipal districts in iHouse, but we didn't trust them. So we had a question, so geez, will we go back and correct it all in iHouse, or we just pull it in from somewhere else? And that's the only bit of real, apart from the vision, which is quite ingenious, that's the only real bit of ingenuity that I applied. I said, well, actually, we can get that information from over here. We got it from the geodirectory where we trusted it. We knew our air codes were good. We said, we'll just pull in the MD from there, and we won't even bother trying to fix it in iHouse. We don't really care where it comes from. So we had a vision of what we wanted. Ultimately, for each report, I end up with one query. So when that comes into Power BI, it's very easy to manage. I do all the heavy lifting kind of internally. This is the wrong slide for this audience, maybe. But in Power BI, that's the extent of my configuration or report. It all fits on one text document that you can see on the screen there. And basically, it's just a bunch of find and replaces, and to simplify the data, to change the terminology, to make it kind of understandable. Then we went and we built it. There wasn't really much to do with it. So because we'd done all the heavy lifting internally on SQL Server, building it was relatively easy. The coding was done in days, not you know, hours or days, no more than that. What we ended up with was sort of a simple, hopefully it's complex data presented simply or relatively simply. The accuracy on our data, like that was absolutely critical. You couldn't do any of this without trusting your data. So we applied a little bit of ingenuity, we used a little bit of flexibility, and actually going back to this, all the bits that we used were existing already. We didn't buy anything. Right? Ger says we bought some licenses. We only bought more licenses because it was working so well. Right? We had some, and we said, actually, we don't have enough. And when you publish these things publicly, you don't actually need a license at all. So it's kind of a weird one with Microsoft. If you use it internally, you must have a license, but just one of those things they do. So yeah, simplicity, accuracy, ingenuity, a little bit of ingenuity. You don't want to blow our own trumpets too hard. A bit of flexibility, stability, and it ended up in serenity. We trust it. You know, it works. It absolutely works. No more FOI requests. Just go and look yourself, you know. That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ger and Morgan. We'll bring you back up for the panel discussion in a minute.